wanna be a central planner. You wanna build from the world
No.
down.
Whoa,
you
whoa,
wanna do
whoa.
the white man's
Central.
burden of
Whoa,
we're gonna
whoa, whoa,
organize.
whoa, whoa.
We're gonna
He did it
organize
again.
society.
This is incredible.
Because it
Are we
exactly is.
recording
You
this?
keep
Central ownership, not something I advocate.
I said central planning, and that's all you've advocated
Central.
for.
No, don't agree with that.
So wait,
I don't.
you don't agree with planning?
Slightest.
Well, if there's how are we gonna
Wait, do I not agree with planning at all?
How
Like
are we gonna
I plan my
organize
personal
an economy?
finances, like I plan my
without
grocery list
central
before I
planning?
go outside?
How are we gonna organize
Central plan? No, I don't agree with central planning.
So you don't agree with central planning, and you don't agree with
No,
markets.
I don't agree with
So
central planning.
how do we organize labor and productivity without planning and without markets?
There are markets. I'm a market socialist. I'm an anarcho-syndicalist. I believe in markets.
0% of you are subscribed. Fix that.
But I guess the major takeaway, though, and the takeaway to the leftists out there is that in a voluntary trade, and that's a emphasis on voluntary trade, both sides receive surplus value from the trade. Neither side is extracting surplus from the other. Both are receiving surplus. And if either side didn't receive surplus, then that side would have zero incentive to actually engage in the transaction.
I take somewhere between 19 and 17 issues with what you just said there, Excuse me. Why are we having this discussion with Excuse me? All due respect to Excuse me, but Excuse me doesn't know shit about this. Why are we having this discussion? It is very possible for a voluntary trade to involve exploitation of one of the agents involved. That's like a hard fact right there. That's
Well,
like
it depends on how you define exploitation.
Okay, then let's bring it back to the simplest possible arguments, okay? You get marooned on a tiny island after your ship crashes in the middle of the Pacific. You find yourself an island with 2 trees. They produce coconuts. It's your only source of sustainable living. Someone already crashed, already lives there. They say they'll give you those coconuts if you suck their dick. Now, in this situation, you can engage in a voluntary trade to wrap your mouth around that meaty schlong and get that bread, okay? Totally valid. You can make that choice. But don't you think the initial setup, the circumstances into which both of these actors have been placed, involves just maybe a smidge of inherent exploitation?
So it's so leftist tactics to be on this fantasy desert island world. So my point, Irish Laddie, to your analogy, isn't whether I think the person should engage in the trade or not engage in the trade. All I can do is conclude that they wanted the decision that they chose.
Leftists are interested in the study of power and social dynamics. And if you look at the decisions that play into a person's lifestyle, what type of job they decide to work, what career they go into, who they choose as a partner, all of these decisions, there's really no such thing as a voluntary choice, or at least not a choice completely free of outside influence. We are at all times susceptible to influences, some of which are explicitly coercive, some of which are implicitly so, which affect our decision making. My interest is not determining whether or not somebody does what they want to do, because people can want to do things that are nonetheless reflective of really shitty circumstances. A person who's working 2 jobs but can't afford to pay for their kids' fucking high school binders and notebooks and shit, they can choose to work a 3rd job. That is their choice. And even if we pretend it's voluntary, it doesn't change the inherent immorality of a system which would require them to do so. I'm not interested in looking at people's decisions and asking, why did they do that? And if it wasn't explicitly because someone held a gun to their head, it was a free choice. And
but that's your problem, Irish Laddie. That's why your ideology will always fail. Because if you don't ask why people aren't doing what they're doing, then you don't understand the situation.
No, but that's just one part of the equation.
Let me finish. What you don't see is that when a worker does something that you see to be the result of a super shitty situation, what you fail to realize is that they are selecting their best option among the alternatives. So you can say all day long how you hate that they have to have those alternatives, but those alternatives exist in the real world. So the fact that they're choosing the path that they believe maximizes their utility in the long run.
Yeah, what an unbelievably reductive and defeatist way of analyzing social decisions.
It's not defeatist at all.
Okay, hold up, buddy. So they make a decision, and they made it in a vacuum-free choice. Okay,
no, why do they make that decision, Irish?
My friend. People make decisions, generally speaking, that optimize their personal interest. However, that applies. I'm going to need you to hold your mouth for just a moment. Because that dichotomy applies equally to a free man in America today and to a slave to the Romans back 2,000 years ago. answer me this. What is the difference between a system in which a person can voluntarily induct themselves into indentured servitude for a pittance? They'll be provided food, they'll be provided shelter, minimal standards, obviously, but nonetheless, they'll be provided what they need to live. And they enter into this agreement voluntarily because they need to settle a down payment that was made to bring their family over to the new world. What is the difference between that system and working any job today?
If you notice, Irish Laddie backpedaled immediately from slavery to indentured servitude.
I'll stand for both. I'm just trying to
different.
make the examples simpler so you can understand them. But please, by all
Can we
means.
read
So you complain about capitalists receiving surplus from the workers they hire, but at the same time, how can you expect production to happen if
You
there's
realize
no surplus?
you're literally dialogue treeing me, right? You fucking dialogue treed me into talking about theory of labor value when I was just talking about the fundamental uselessness of your way of analyzing economic transactions. I would like to, if we may, get back to the original discussion here, to which the point that I never finished was this, simply. Both of us acknowledge that people generally act in their own best interests. Both of us understand that people should be allowed to act in their own best interests. That's a powerful social and economic motivator that we shouldn't infringe upon. However, your system, your way of looking at things, is utterly agnostic to pre-existing systems of oppression. My system is interested primarily in dismantling an oppression, in assisting people in making free choices, free to their own agency, free of bigotry, of oppression, of coercion. My system is interested in making life better for people.
Irish Laddie has basically said he would give me the bullet in his real world. So while he's here whining about me dialoguing treating him, we're coming into this with him basically saying he would kill me under his political system.
Okay,
So,
okay. All right, okay. For one, I didn't say I would do it. I'm lazy, okay? Let's not assign that responsibility to me. But would you be killed generally? Ooh, I don't know. You make a solid case every time you open your mouth. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of that statement at all.
Right, but here's the problem is that I'm having a serious discussion here. I really believe capitalism is the best system for what you claim to care about. And here you are saying people like me get murdered. Like, why would I?
Okay, we've gotten pretty non sequitur now. Okay, chill.
It's not a non sequitur. He says I don't understand his ideology now, but he's advocated for actually having me murdered.
What I do fault you for is acting as though you're mounting the substantive critique of my ideology when we haven't even begun to discuss what sort of alternatives I would offer to the problems posed by capitalism.
Well, I know what entails killing me. So what else would you? After you kill me?
No,
what would happen, Irish
killing
Laddie?
you would be for fun. Okay.
Yeah.
For
So what happens after I get
Christ.
murdered?
I'm sorry. You're right. I should tone it down.
Trade is bilaterally voluntary. That's why it works. Trade's not a sacrifice of one nation to the other. That's how you view it. How I view it is it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Okay, so how is trade? Okay, so do you disagree with the statement that the Western world and Western trade is predicated on the exploitation of third world workers?
I'm not interested in whether or not it's exploitative. What I'm interested in is, do you recognize that it's mutually beneficial?
This is whether or not it's mutually beneficial depends on what you recognize to be mutually beneficial. Because when I think of mutually beneficial, I think of an exchange free of coercion. When you think of mutually beneficial, you think of American corporations, sometimes backed with U.S. military aid, barging into countries and saying, yes, I will allow you to keep these assets of yours. We will not, impose our right to exert corporate control over these natural resources you have if you're willing to open up these factories and allow us to have workers work there for 3 cents an hour. Now, that may technically be beneficial. 3 cents an hour may be better for these workers than subsistence farming. And I acknowledge that in the most bland, platitudinal, worthless, ethically bankrupt way imaginable. But I do not consider that a free exchange. Not even fucking close. How can you... it's unfathomable to me that you're trying to pound this argument that I don't care about the third world when you are utterly devoid. You are not only devoid of empathy, you are contemptual of people who have been put on the other side of this equation. We enjoy so many benefits in this country that are extracted almost exclusively from our unwillingness to bring the rest of the world up to we are. You say America
that sounds like a very white man's burden argument, Irish
Shut
Laddie.
the fuck. No, it doesn't.
Oh, it does. Oh, we need to bring them to where we are.
I never said we do.
We're at such
We
a
need to
great place.
take our fucking hands off them.
No, it's a white man's burden argument, Irish
No,
Laddie.
it's the literal opposite. We need to take our hands
not.
off them and stop interfering in their national affairs because we fuck things up. We ruin it for them. It's insane to me that you can pretend to think otherwise. I know you're being dishonest right now. I've seen you talk with Steven before. I know you don't give a shit about being intellectually honest. You have an agenda to push, and you push it, and you do it with admirable consistency, and it is a characteristic I would like to see in more leftists. But do not look me in the eye over the internet. Don't look me in the microphone camera. Don't sit here. You have failed to prove your contention that America gradually transitioning to a socialist economy would collapse the world market.
You don't understand, and you're not thinking about those issues.
I
You're just
am
hand-waving them.
Okay, all right, okay. Listen, talking to X Skills Me isn't going to serve me here, so I'm going to talk directly to chat.
Of course it's not.
No, wait, you can't.
we'll
This
say-
isn't just here for you guys to have a pulpit. What the fuck?
No, wait, no, Steven, you completely agree that sometimes it's important not to talk to the fascists, but to talk past the fascists.
I don't
And
think
he's
he's.
not a
Yeah,
fascist,
I
but
agree,
the
but I don't
tactic-
think he's necessarily
the
made a
tactic-
fascist argument yet.
No, he's not a fascist. But he'll enable them, and I mean, Dan was in chat saying that he would platform Richard Spencer over me. I mean, capitalists do side with fascists. You know that. Don't
Yeah, but to
argue.
be fair, you can't not expect that when you're talking about how you would have Dan and X-Fields be killed, right? Wouldn't they? Isn't this why liberals side with fascists eventually? Is because you guys threatened to kill him?
No, we threatened to kill him because they side with fascists.
I don't know. Is this the cart or the horse? I'm not sure which one is going through first here.
Listen, chat. Would it not be possible for us to economically incentivize some larger businesses and firms in America to move to those countries?
Whitemansburden.com.
Wait, what do you mean by move to those?
Shut the fuck up. You just said they need us to write. Shut the fuck up.
Wait, no, wait. What do you mean by move to those countries? Can you finish your point?
Okay, sure. Amazon gets socialized. Bezos gets the bullet. We bring an Amazon campus over to, let's say, India, Myanmar, or whatever the fuck. We set up a campus over there. We invest in infrastructure. Now, this is something we can do as a society because we can determine where this money goes. It doesn't have to be for profit. And the invocation of the white man's burden is nothing but a slimy tactic on Excuse Me part to try and distance my the moral legitimacy of my grounds from the argument. It was dishonest. He still can't own up to it, and it's why I can't talk to people like him. America undermines foreign socialist governments at every available opportunity because America recognizes what you. What? No. What I'm saying right now is a fucking fact. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, you have an
but a
excuse
large
for
part of the reason why.
I understand it. Yeah, you have an excuse. It was just special
no,
time.
I have explanations. And part of the
AKA
explanation is because America interferes in the development of socialist
Right.
nations.
With socialism, everything invariably does go to shit, and then they'll just blame one special thing. In case our side is blaming the U.S., but like with capitalist society,
it's so telling to me that you're literally incapable of making a statement without invoking dishonesty. Because I never said it as an excuse; I said it as an explanation.
Right?
I think countries. Yeah, because there are differences. I don't defend these countries. That makes my explanations as to why they failed just that. Explanations. I'm not trying to invoke them as positive examples, but you have to paint it that way because you can't stop lying.
Name one thing I'm lying about.
The unfair equivocation of an excuse and a explanation, acting as though my interest in the socialist revolution was in some way motivated by Eurocentrism, arguing that I was invoking a white man's burden argument, suggesting that there is no difference between the abolition of capital and the abolition of private ownership of capital. I mean, do you want me to go on? You have mishandled every.
First of all, none of those are lies.
Argument.
Those are just arguments and rebuttals. That's not a lie.
They're not rebuttals. They're straw men, which is a form of lying. I'm sorry, my dude, my friend Areno, I cannot argue with a person who lies to my face and pretends he has not done so. This is why I can't. You're not.
You want to be a central planner. You want to build from the world down.
You
want to do the white man's burden of we're going to organize society.
This is incredible.
Because it
are we recording this? Central ownership, not something I advocate.
I said central planning, and that's all you've advocated.
No, don't agree with that.
So wait, you don't agree with planning? Well, if there's, how are we going to?
Wait, do I not agree with planning at all?
How are we going to organize an economy?
Like I plan my grocery list before I go outside.
How are we going to organize?
Central plan? No, I don't agree with central planning.
So you don't agree with central planning, and you don't agree with markets.
No, I don't agree with
so
central planning.
How do we organize labor and productivity without planning and without markets?
There are markets. I'm a market socialist. I'm an anarcho-syndicalist. I believe in markets.
Fantasy. The idea that we're going to have all these advantages when we transition to socialism, or
whoa, wait, my dude, my good buddy, my friend, my comrade. Okay, How is it a fantasy that if in a capitalist society we have labor power and certain markets open to us, that in a socialist society we wouldn't still have, like, wait, let's just take like a quick example. Google has fucking American campuses right here in our home soil. I don't fucking care about corporations. Google, we nationalize Google. Google still exists, still has them smart brainy boys with those big round heads that are operating all of its intellectual and technological functions. The only difference, the big difference here, is that the absolute metric shit horse ton of money that Google makes is not being funneled into a very, very, very small number of hands. You can't fathom it. Your fucking pea-sized neural cortex can't process that neural that's firing from my mouth to your ear to your brain. It can't get through it. Look, okay, it's not about killing all the rich people. It is about securing the removal from power for people who could, in the event of a revolution, stifle the will of the people. I can make arguments as to why the people who I think deserve to be removed from society would benefit from their removal.
Nazi can say the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, except their arguments fall apart. No,
yeah,
but no, you can't do it. You can't hold it back.
That's too, my dude.
That motor mouth, my friend, I can make arguments, let me clarify, that are good.
Yeah, they can.
The same way a revolutionary could talk about how you need to get rid of the monarchy and the noble.
You're saying now on the richest.
I need you to stop just a little bit, because the depth of your misunderstanding is embarrassing to me. I'm cringing over here. I'm getting a fucking ab workout. You aren't in the demographic that would be like killed, right? You do realize that.
Damn, you're not enough of a capitalist.
Yeah, no. You told me. I mean, I hope.
Yeah, no. Like I keep saying this. I don't know why. For you, excuse me, it would be a matter of pleasure. But for other people,
why do you keep joking like that when he keeps railing you for it?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess getting back to the grain point.
Which was that again?
The point was about how it's socially acceptable for our society to talk about mass murdering people, but it would be unacceptable for any sort of right-wing people to do it.
Yeah, and I keep trying to explain it, but you don't understand why. Sometimes I feel like I'm arguing with a man, and the man has ideas, and sometimes I legitimately feel like you're too stupid to understand what I'm saying. Why are you interrupting me?
You can just plug all these different things. What's your actual point, Irish Laddie?
The actual point that I was getting at right there was that sometimes I feel like you're too stupid to understand what I'm saying, and it's very frustrating for me.
That's not actually a point.
No, that's actually an essential point. I think that might actually be the most essential point I've made in this entire conversation, because your fundamental inability to understand things outside the capitalist diaspora is crippling. Your imagination is a closed box. You can't fathom it. It's outside your realm. Over the course of this conversation, Excuse Me has lied and misrepresented my position many times, jumping topics. No, come on. You've jumped topics around. You've accused me of being racist. You have in every instance available to you. You have jumped topic to the infallible assertion that I can't advocate for any socialist positions unless I could demonstrate it having already worked. I couldn't fathom behaving as stupidly as you have.
Stop the fake outrage, Irish Laddie.
Please, I'm a leftist. I have plenty of real outrage beating in my chest, okay? Destiny, the amount of dishonesty and anti-intellectualism he has engaged in over the course of this argument far outstrips any I have engaged in. It's actually disgusting. This is antithetical to any kind of realism.
I mean, like, to be fair, you told him that you would kill him, like, multiple times in this conversation.
That's just, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I, like, care about intellectual honesty, or because I, like, envision an American population that isn't so disgustingly...
Just stop it.
What? No, listen. No, I understand that you have a black, crusty, ashen heart that doesn't give a shit about anything other than the idea that you might eventually own a yacht, but I actually care very deeply about some values, and intellectual honesty is really fucking important to me.
Capitalism needs to spread more. We need more capitalism, not less.
All right, I can't.
Are the ones that need the most capitalism, and I don't. Even under your own paradigm, you have to recognize that capitalism is a necessary stepping stone for the countries that haven't even started development yet. I mean,
I've clearly made no grounds in this discussion, but I think to the people listening, I have sufficiently demonstrated the habitual dishonesty, the straw manning, and the anti-intellectualism of the person with which I'm arguing. Anyway, to everyone in the chat, I'm fucking closing. I'm fucking signing off my channel, okay? To those in the chat, I made a YouTube channel. I'm putting out a video tomorrow. It's on centrism. It's gonna be dope. And soon I'll get picked up by Destiny, okay? It'll be under his channel too.
Wow, good job. You guys are both beautiful